Today we're going to look at how we can utilize the graphing function and also include some self-checking software in there to get students playing around with graphs and trying to work out whether they're correct or not for themselves. So to do this, we're going to look on the left hand side and click on graph, and here you'll see we've got the basic sort of Desmos graph, and what we want to do is actually do a little bit of work inside the graph component, so edit graph, in order to try and get the students thinking about it. So first thing we need to do is actually have a graph that we want, so I'm going to start off with a quadratic, y equals x squared, and I'm going to take away 4 because I want to look at some x-intercepts. So I've got a graph first of all, the students will look at that, they won't be able to move it because there's no variable part, there's no sliders. So what I want them to have is a point that they can put anywhere on the curve and hopefully find the correct answer that I'm looking for. So let's just put in a generic point to start off with, so a_1, a_2. That'll give me a point, and it's really nice that Desmos offers me these sliders because I absolutely want to take them up on that. And now this is where I need to think about what my question is going to be asking. I want the students to be able to put this point on the positive x-intercept, let's say, or the positive root. And here you'll see that I can drag it around. My point, my sliders are changing on the left hand side, which is great, except for they're changing in really small increments, and that's going to make it really hard for them to get it exactly on that positive root. Look, that looks close enough to me, but I'm just out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change it to 1, and I'm going to make it so that they're restricted with their range and domain, so it's going to be between -10 and 10, and with a step of 0.5. So here you can see when I go sideways, and I can only go in 0.5 increments. And I'm going to do the same with my y value, so between -10 and 10, and again 0.5, and this just makes it a little bit easier for the students to snap onto specific coordinates if they're at integer values or 0.5 integer values. Okay, that's good. Students can do that, and I could, if I wanted to, just give the students this question and they'd be able to drag it, but there would be no check. It would be quite hard work for me to go into every single student to try and see whether they've got it right or not. So what I'm going to do is give the students a little bit of a self-check, and I'm going to do that in the form of an image that's going to pop up when it's on the correct position. So I need an image first of all, so I'm just going to bring one in. It's just a little tick image I found off Google. When I bring it in, you'll see that it will show. I'm just going to resize it and change the position. So I want this image to show up at this position when the x coordinate is on here. So how do I check the position? Well, I first of all need a little check variable, so a_correct, and I want this to be correct when my value of a_1, which is my x coordinate, is equal to 2, and I want this to also be correct when my value of a_2, which is my y coordinate, will be equal to 0. And here you can see it's correct, so it's displaying a value of 1. When I move it around, it's displaying a value of undefined, and this is going to help us with this image. So I want this image to show when this is a value of 1, so if I edit the height of this image, let's give it a height and width of 2, and because it's 1, if I multiply by 1, or I multiply by a_correct, you will see that the image is showing at the moment because 2 times 1 is 2, and it's got a width. As soon as I move this off, the image is going to disappear because it will have an undefined height. And now this is what I'm going to use for the self-check for the students. So when I preview this, this is what the students will see. Move the positive to a positive x-intercept. Here we go, and we've got our little tick. Now this is really useful, and I've just shown another way we can do this by looking at geography questions. So here we have a map. I want to move A to the church with a tower, and an image pops up, B, and C to the museum. And you could do as many of these as you want on a slide, and it's really good when trying to think about if you want a specific thing to go in a specific place. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you learned something more about the coding. And if you have any questions, please let me know.